Well, welcome everyone to Mindful Mondays. I am your host, Laura Cross. And one of the reasons I love doing this show is I love meeting like minded people from around the world who are willing to share their experiences, their challenges, and learn how they use that to create positive changes and help others live a healthier life. And my guest today, Joy from Be the Difference, is no exception. So, Joy, I want to welcome you and thank you for joining us today.
Hey, nice to
Hey.
meet you all. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, I got to know. I know you founded and you created Be the Difference back in 2013. But what inspired you to create the Be the Difference clothing?
Okay, I'm going to start from the very, 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 very beginning. So, I was working with a Christian rap artist, like I was the manager, and um, that kind of fizzed out. So, when that fizzed out, I started going to the gym 7 days a week. And when I went to the gym 7 days a week, I used to secretly go home and snack on Snickers, you know, Kit Kat bars, everything you could think of. Ice cream. You remember the ice cream Snicker bars? I used to eat
Mhm.
those, right? So one day, I just made an admission on one of the social platforms, and I said, work hard, snack harder. I admit that after the gym, I come home and eat Snickers bars, blah, blah, blah. And when you're a 7 day a week gymmer, everybody thinks that you're eating like all of the protein stuff and you're eating really well. And once I made that admission, one of my family members said, "You should make that a shirt." And I was like, okay. And then that was like the very first design that was actually for Be the Difference. And after that design, I wanted to take it a little bit more seriously. I wanted the company to be taken seriously. And I wanted to be, taken seriously. So I went ahead and I incorporated, then I trademarked. And while I was doing all of that, I was driving home one day from an evening event from, church. It was in December. And before I turned the corner to the block that I lived on, I saw someone bent backwards. So, like, imagine your body straight up, but then the back of your head is actually close to your kneecap. And I'm like, my heart was broken. And I just felt so bad, but something just clicked in me and said, "Why do you feel bad? What are you going to do?" And I said, "Well, I know all of us, anybody who has a heart would just feel horrible that someone is going through that." And I decided that I'm not a public speaker at that time, but I could definitely write, and people loved how I write. So I wrote Addiction Kills the Family. And that was the first serious design that I made. And to make it vivid, you know how like how bear claws would
Oh,
just like
mhm.
imagine just going down like that. And it just kind of ripped the family. It just showed a physical rip of the family. And there was like blood dripping off of it because I wanted it to be powerful and profound at the same time and thought provoking. And it also helped me just with the frustration of knowing that there's so many people you know, who are victims of some sort of addiction. And let's make it very clear, it's not only substance abuse that there's addictions. So for all of us who have addictions to our cell phones, to working too much, maybe to watching pornography, to all of us who just are self-loathing, maybe you might be a person that has an addiction. And the way I feel we can compare that addiction aspect, possibility, is how much time are you spending at home with your family? Do you even communicate? Do you spend time having dinner? Like, how many times a week do you even have dinner? Do you cook? So that was a conversational piece. And that's pretty much the direction that I want to Be the Difference to stay on. Social awareness, and we have some funny things, but mostly social awareness and healing. So
Right,
that's in a
right.
little nutshell, kind of like,
Yeah, and bringing attention to those things, because like you said, addiction really is doing too much of anything, it's not finding that balance. Uh, I remember when I was growing up, we used to always sit around, we always gathered at the table and had dinner. And nowadays, most of the times it's like, yeah, too much work. We grab something, we just go sit in front of the TV and you watch, or
Mhm.
someone's on their phone. So you're with your family, but are you with your family? Because
Yeah,
are you really paying attention, or are you, doing other things?
yeah. And
So
I like, interestingly enough, I blame the microwave for like the compromise of family. Um, I mean, just think about it. When the microwave was invented, it gave parents or a parent, whoever the parents are, a reason to say, you know what, I can work a little longer because I could just pop something in the microwave. Or, back then it was like you could cook a whole turkey in the microwave, so you have 40 minutes to cook the turkey. So like I have an extra 40 minutes. All I have to do is turn the microwave on and I can go back to work or go back to working on a project for work.
yeah,
So, you know, when you no longer are physically being active in the things that create nutrition or absorption of real life, I
yeah.
blame those things.
Yeah, and it doesn't it's in one way it's getting better, and on the other hand, it's not. I mean, we have the internet, we have electronics, we've got,
Mhm.
because everybody wants everything yesterday, and, it makes it easier and convenient, but and which is great, it can make things easier, but if you rely too heavily on it, then you stop doing the things that are important, and you lose sight, I think, of things.
Yeah, and you lose your human senses. Like our memory senses are like really bad. Think about it. How many phone numbers do you know have you memorized
Oh,
now,
oh,
currently?
I'm actually really good with numbers, so I know quite a few. My fiance just looks at me like, "Yeah, okay," because he won't remember 'em. I can remember my phone number for when I was growing up as a kid, but
Right.
I'm a
That's a lost
numbers-oriented
art.
person. Yeah.
That's a lost art. It's like if anybody loses their cell phone, you're not going to know anybody's phone number except for 911. So, interestingly enough, in my
Mhm.
cell phone, I no longer put the names of people on my phone. It's only a phone number that pops up and it just triggers, oh, I know who that is. Because
Wow.
when we were younger, right? When we were growing up, we all knew somebody's phone number by heart. We knew about 20 different phone numbers by heart. You know what I mean? Because you just
Yep.
knew. And then you had it written down in your little diary book or whatever. But nowadays, it's like, oh, Joe is calling. Which Joe? you know, Celia's calling, but which Celia? Is it Celia P, Celia M? Is it Celia on the neighborhood? Like, but God forbid if Celia's name got erased out of her phone and her number came up, you wouldn't even recognize it. You wouldn't
Nope.
know. So I said,
No.
I want to,
It's
I
kinda like
want
the
to
TV,
bring.
you used to have to get up and hit the buttons, and now you got a remote, and if you can't find the remote, you're, like, staring all day, and you're, like,
Alexa,
looking around the
or you
TV. I'm
just
like,
say Alexa.
"Can't find the power button, can't find this because you don't know where it's at anymore."
But you have the Alexa. Hey Alexa, turn my TV off.
Oh, yeah,
Remember
don't
the
say her
class
too
one?
loud. Don't I wouldn't say her too loud, she is in here.
Oh, oh, so you mean I could turn your device on?
Oh, yeah, if you say her name loud enough, she'll start talking.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness, that's crazy. Isn't that crazy?
it
Oh
is,
my
and
goodness.
sometimes she just, like, talks out of the blue for no reason. It's like, "Shut up, didn't even ask you anything."
That's
That is
crazy.
actually a pretty, awesome tip. I think it would probably be terrifying for some people, but that's a pretty cool way to, increase your memory, is to have all those numbers in your phone and don't put a name to it.
Yeah. You could
Wow.
definitely reckon. I mean, we have to, in some way, shape, or form. I believe. I don't know what anybody, all of you who are watching. I'm not sure who you believe in, but I believe in God. I believe in my ancestors. I believe in the whole team. Whoever's protecting me every single day. I pay homage to them. But they have given us a gift, right? And they've encapsulated our soul inside of this flesh. And if you take the flesh away, our souls have so much power, but we don't get to see that power or recognize that we have that power because we're so busy being distracted by everything else or programmed by everything else. So you lose touch with whoever you believe created you and sustains you. You lose that touch. And so therefore you become more than just a human. You just become a robot, or less than a human. You just become a robot. And if my fear is that if we continuously allow different things to keep on separating us from our true eternity, because this is temporal,
Mhm.
then we're never going to recognize the voice. You know, the voice that people say, like, you don't recognize his voice or her, whatever. I'm not here to argue or debate what people believe in, but
No.
just relating to the fact that you do believe in something. But this is where we are now. We need to bridge that gap so that we're more back to where we came from, the essence of what we came from and what we're made of. It's more than just, come home, watch TV, eat popcorn, and just have all the fun in the work. We have real work to do. Our work is to help each other get from hell to a better life, right? Because
Yeah.
a lot of us are living in hell from the traumas and the fears or the things that we've done in our past or even present, and we're not healing from that. So we continuously carry that same hell with us. And then with that hell, we branch it off to everyone else because it's giving off those vibes, those negative vibes. And then everybody else is starting to think like, is it me or you? Like, and then everybody's in a bad mood.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So we have to get back. We have to get back, you know?
Well, and your clothing, I think, is a good way to do that, putting different messages, positive messages and things or change, or, maybe they may not all seem happy to some people, but it's an eye opener to,
Yes.
what are some of the experiences you've had with that? I mean, were you afraid of being judged when you start, especially when you had that thing with addiction kills? Did you worry about being judged?
Absolutely. I was so scared. I don't like using those kinds of words, but I was scared. I was like, they're gonna think that I made it. Of course you did, Joy. you know. But one experience I do remember, I was in one of the local grocery stores, and one of the cash register, the customer service cash register, where all the cigarettes and the lottery tickets are.
Mhm.
I was walking by her, and then I noticed that she was kind of looking at me kind of weird. And then not like just somebody staring at you, it was just kind of one of those looks. And I was like, oh, she's looking at my shirt. And I was all happy inside. But then I was just like, to me, the reason why I was happy is because it started that conversation in her own heart. It doesn't necessarily mean that the addiction had to be her, but maybe it was somebody that she knows, or maybe it's something that she had to deal with when she gets off of work. Maybe it was something that, triggered like get out. We don't know what kind of hell people are living in, if anybody is in some type of hell. People have plenty of smiles on their faces, but we do not know what's behind that. So the more we put out there that it's okay to heal, it's cool to heal, it's cool to expose the things that try to sabotage your purpose by hiding them behind fear and ego. The more we can expose that, the more we can be useful to our community, and maybe we won't have to be led by the few.
Right. And maybe it helps people be a little more honest with themselves.
Honesty equals freedom.
Yeah. Yep. So does this ever start like conversations? Do you mostly just get like reactions, or is it kind of a conversation starter for some people, or do they ever ask you
Well, there was another
why?
design. There was another design. So I'll tell you about two designs. There was one design, I was at a business function, young professionals. I was trying to get my business out there,
Uh-huh.
just meeting other professionals. And we were having a conversation, and then we started talking, and I said, a paycheck is not a passion. I don't know if it was just me that made it or the guy I was talking to, but that quote came out of nowhere from that conversation. And that was the next t-shirt, a paycheck is not a passion. For me, it meant that whatever you are passionate about is going to make ways for income for you to have a livelihood. So don't always feel like, oh, I've been at my job for 50 billion years. I can't leave because I'm too old. No, your passion will make way for a paycheck. And it's not to say that people who do sit lovely in a 9 to 5 job, that there's something wrong with you. It's not that. But I know everybody in the world is not supposed to be an employee. There's plenty of employers that are sitting in employee roles and are miserable because they haven't believed that a paycheck is not a passion. the
I like
other
that. Yeah.
the other design, I was actually walking to my car and you know, someone said, thanks for the reminder. And I'm like, who you talking to? And, I kind of looked around. I was like, it was only two of us. Um, Again, I was scared to wear it, but I had prayer works. I don't know why I was so scared to wear some of these designs. I don't know if because I just didn't want the religious fanatics to be like, what are you doing wearing that shirt? But people don't say anything to you. They'll just look at you. And when she said that, I looked down at it and it was because I had the prayer works shirt on. Now I ran to my car because I keep business cards in there and I wanted to give it to her and I noticed she was crying. So I got happy, not because she was crying, but at that point I was kind of, teetering on should I do the business more because I wasn't seeing the financial structure or the results that normal businesses were seeing. And that totally answered the question of you were doing the right thing. You fulfilled a need for someone who needed to see that message. Lord knows what could have happened had we not crossed paths. I don't know, but I've never
Right.
seen that person again. But I was just happy. I was really happy that I was able to be there to help somebody, and I didn't even have to say a word. My message spoke from what I was wearing. you know?
And anyone watching can tell the passion in you and the business. And I love that, paycheck is not passion. Because it depends on what generations you were brought up in, but most of the generations, you were taught to go to school, go to college, get a degree, go work for somebody. No one
Mhm,
talked about being an entrepreneur, and there's plenty of us that has done that plenty. But if you look back at it, you figured your life was fine, but you look back at it, you truly weren't happy, you know?
mhm,
So to be able to find something and do something like you do that truly makes you happy and brings that out is just beautiful. And it makes a
mhm.
difference. Like you said, be the difference. I mean,
Yes.
we have too many people, I think, sitting on the sidelines or people that are busy judging. We're real good at judging. And there's different, what do you want to call it? Probably science studies or whatever as to why people are so judgy, whether it's, out of jealousy or fear they don't, they see something in themselves or, whatever it is. But it's kind of like the first thing that comes out, it's like I used to tell people, it's like when you go to a restaurant, are you busy complaining about how your server's like really nasty and or not miserable? She's not all smiles and stuff. Did you ever think maybe she's just having a bad day?
Yeah.
And instead of complaining about the service, maybe you should ask her if she's okay. It's a totally different mindset and different
Yep.
ways to look at things.
That would have been your opportunity at that time to fulfill the need that she had because you were perfectly fine. You were having a decent day, but you were probably there. You and maybe some other people were probably there to fulfill that void that she was having. We just don't know. Some people are this close to triggers, you know?
Yep.
And I
And I
mean,
think that's why some people maybe worried about some of those things because you never know who around you might set that trigger off to, you know, and or how the person's going to react. You can never tell
yeah.
nowadays.
And let me make an insertion real quick. Like, just so everybody knows, I am not perfect. And I'm proud to say that. I'm always gonna be, I'm always gonna be in progress. And I don't mind being in progress of being a better version of myself because it shows that I'm very moldable and that God, my team can work with me and through me. So I definitely am always a work in progress. Some days are better than others. I'm not always peachy clean and happy, but I guarantee you I will try as hard as I physically can to be better because I know what it's like to be, just a regular, everyday, mundane, nothing makes me happy, nothing makes me sad. I'm just wasting time. But I don't want to waste time. I love nature. It's so beautiful. Like, ah.
Yeah, and perfectionism is overrated, I will tell you that. I always try to, make everything perfect or right before I start and do anything, but for one, it stalls you out. You never do what you were intended to do if you're waiting to be perfect because nobody's perfect. So, I like being perfectly imperfect, and like you, I'm a
Yes,
constantly a work in progress.
absolutely.
So, and I think everybody should be that way. It's just a funner way to live. It's like, you know what? If we make mistakes, it's okay because I'm not perfect. It means I'm human and people can relate. So, absolutely. Well, I know we have more clothes and more things to discuss that you have coming up on the horizon, but we are going to take a quick break for a brief commercial and we will be right back.
Hi, I'm Bobby Aldridge with BAM Metrics. There are so many programs out there that measure your swing speed, sets, reps, your BMI, your body fat, but the one thing they're not measuring that's so essential is mobility. Mobility is the key. If you're measuring your mobility, your performance will get better and you will reduce your pain. I created BAM Metrics to make it easy for people to repeat the exercises so they could do it properly at home on their own. It's simple, it's easy to do, and from a senior to a pro athlete, they all can do.
Hi, I'm Kelly Melissa Reinhart, host of Make Mental Health Matter. Join me on Mondays at 11 a.m. and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on the Achieve TV network right here on E360 TV.
And we are back. So I know. So tell us about some of the clothing and stuff that you have. From what I saw on your site, you have hoodies, onesies, shirts,
Oh, I love it.
socks.
Let
I
me
mean,
tell you, since we're talking about the onesies, I love babies. Um, and, it just hit me that if we can inspire from infancy, maybe it'll take a lot more to be defeated as you're growing up into adolescent and adulthood. So the reason why I can confidently say that is because I remember certain things when I was like a toddler, and I'll never forget them. And I'm like, well, if I can remember them, surely other kids can. So there's one that I have. It's called "My Future Is Bright." It actually glows in the dark. So it is on onesie. I started doing toddler tees. So if you want your little toddler to be in one of a Beat a Difference of finest gear, please go ahead and shop right there. But so I have that. Then I have I Will Be a Leader. I Was Born to Be Great. Those are just the baby line, just positive affirmations. Because no matter the fact, even if a toddler or an infant can't read, they will remember that symbol. So anytime they're going to have a bad day or they feel like giving up, maybe that image of the light bulb will come up. They may not recognize this because you were from an infant. I just kept on putting you in the mirror with it. But something about a light bulb will always be like, don't give up. So that is the reason why I feel like if we can get our infants in these type of messaging, then it's definitely going to do something, especially pictures. I love the socks. That's one of my favorite parts of the company because it keeps me being creative. Sometimes, a lot of times I do collaborate with my dad. He absolutely inserts his ideas, and he can just say, what about a tree? And just like a tree doing something. And I'm like, okay. And then like a beautiful design comes out. It doesn't, it's like, I can never say it's me. It's like a collaborative effort. The ideas to the artist, the amazing artist that I work with, her name is Anna. She absolutely can match my brain and the things that I present to her to what you see on those socks. And she's definitely a godsend. And how I ran into her company is just, it's believe me, guys, when you start to flow with life and allow your maker, creator, whoever you believe in, if you allow them to take hold, everything that you're supposed to do will just happen. And this is how I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And I know that I'm, being rewarded not only financially, but just like these experiences. I get to meet Laura, y'all. Like, if there was no Be the Difference clothing, what is the possibility of me meeting Laura? So everything you just don't deny what your future and present can hold by your limited beliefs and your unwillingness to change. Now, I had to change in order to be where I am now. I will have to change more in order for me to propel and catapult to where I'm going. So I'm always going to be a work in progress. You see now why I say that?
Oh yeah.
It's not
Yep.
attitude,
Yep. I've learned that over the years too. When you're in a better place, which is why I say self-care is so important. It's essential for a healthier you, because when you are in that place, you attract others like that around you. And it helps keep you going, and it helps keeping you pumped up and built up. And it's easier to just tell the others, hey, go. I always say they sort themselves out because they tend to not be in your circles anymore. And when you attract the right people, oh, absolutely. You can skyrocket relationships, business, success, you name it. It just kind of all falls into place. And I think that's beautiful that you have those onesies and the little baby tees, because most people I know of go nuts over babies anyway and love to look at them. So you got people looking at them. They are probably the most in photos is babies. That you see, because everybody loves taking pictures of them, especially if it's the firstborn. My niece just had her first baby, and I get pictures constantly. Oh, here's 6 months. We're celebrating. When I was growing up, okay, we had a 1-year birthday and a 2-year birthday. Now we got a 1 month, the 2 month, the 3 month, and I'm like, but it's fun to see. I mean, they're so excited about it. But yeah, if you have big positive messages like that, just think of how many people are actually able to see that more. Because they share those, they're all over social media. They share them with the family. They get shared pretty much everywhere.
Yeah. And you'd be surprised, guys. Be the Difference clothing has adorned a lot of people, celebrities, politicians, you name it. I don't talk about that. I don't talk about those experiences because it's irrelevant, because they're still human beings. But trust and believe, we have a little bit of a reach in different places. So definitely check out the company.
Absolutely. And the glow in the dark thing is really pretty cool too.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of shirts like that. It's like glow in the dark. It's neat. If you in the light and then you go in the dark, all of a sudden it's like, Oh, that's right. I forgot. My shirt glows in the dark. I can't figure out what that glow is.
I've had that experience. Like, I don't, as much as possible, I like to save electricity. And, you know, I'm a walking billboard, right? So I'll be wearing one of my designs, and, you know, one of my designs happens to have the glow in the dark on it. And then, like, it'd be pitch black. And I'm like, what in the world? I'm like, oh, snap. So my stuff is glowing.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know.
And truth be told, mine was a Jeff Hardy shirt because I used to follow WWE and go to the wrestling. So it was Jeff Hardy,
Oh,
and it had the whole, had the whole things on it. So, but it was fun. It was like, yeah, I happened to walk into a dark closet and I didn't need the light. I didn't turn, and also I was glowing. I was like, oh, I forgot I had that on.
Yeah.
Forgot it glowed in the dark. But what a cool
Mhm.
thing to do. So your socks, what inspired doing the socks?
So I don't know. It was around, the time when I started venturing off doing the colors in the t-shirts. Then I said, I need more attraction because, in the pop-ups for my company, the t-shirts weren't carrying itself alone. So then I said, okay, I'll try socks because I was like, they're pretty cool or whatever. And it seems like people wear socks all the time. So that should be a good, easy selling point. So I just reached out to, this is how I met the artist, right? I reached out to the company that she was working with, and they happened to be able to fulfill your ideas, and they create it for you. So I said, okay, I'm gonna go with one run and see how it works out. And I was so impressed with it, and people purchased it that I was like, you know what? Just to make it cool and to subliminally like make people realize that it's okay to be an individual in clothing, I'm only gonna make 12. So there are only 12 of any kind of sock. Once they're sold out, they're never made again. Trust and believe. I've been on interviews where they're fighting me to be like, Joy, that makes no sense. I'm like, I know it doesn't make sense, but they're like, but you're losing money by doing that, right? I was like, I know, but I can't do it. I've told thousands of people that I won't do it, so I can't go back on my word. And they're like, but yeah, but that was 5 years ago. Like, you could change. I was like, well, I know, but I don't know. So that's why I'm stuck at it, just doing 12. Maybe one day I'll change. I doubt it, but I feel
I don't
like,
think so, because that's part of you. That's part of your brand. I don't see that changing. I see more of them becoming a collector's items, and other people might be making money if somebody really wants it and they'll offer them
yeah,
more if they haven't worn them to death. But it almost seems like that would be something people are going to like want to frame, depending on what they are.
and people have, like, I had this one sock. It was like, I think it was my favorite one. On the front of it, it's the anti-stock, right? On the front of it had, the kind of stop sign with the X and the word anti, and it was red, full face, right? And on the back, I've made 4 picture frames of what abuse is. And we had the frame of abuse of financial abuse, then a frame of child abuse, like more so it was 2 parents fighting and the kid was just sitting there sad. And then we had like the physical abuse, and then there was another abuse on there. But I really like that sock because it showed the differences, and kind of like, again, with the addiction kills the family, right? Kind of make me be like, wow, like my kid, if I argue in front of my kid, maybe I need to be a little bit more aware of how that's affecting me. And it were jail cells, right? So you had the
Yeah.
jail cells with the image in the background. So that sock I will always remember. And I say that to say that one of the people that actually purchased, and it's, just side note, a lot of people who have purchased that particular sock were actually going through like some type of abuse. And I always thought that was interesting that people who have gone through abuse like that would want to hold on to it. But anyway, the woman was like, it just reminds her of how she's no longer there. And she said that she was going to frame hers. And, some people would frame it and put it in, another person framed it and said they would put it in their center because they worked at like a survival center, and they said they were going to frame
Mhm.
it there. It's like, that's so dope, you know? And
Yeah, it
just to,
sounds like that's actually kind of maybe gave that person a voice that they didn't want to say it out loud, but they can wear it to kind
yeah,
of say that this is what I'm going through without, verbally saying it. Because a lot of people
that
have trouble
too,
talking about it.
that too,
So maybe you
that
helped give them an outlet to, kind of let people know what's going on without them actually saying it.
That too. You just don't know. You just don't know. People could tell you one thing, but the hidden truth could be behind something else. So
Sure.
that's a good point you made.
Yeah. That would be my first impression from somebody if they were going through it and they wore it, but they weren't really saying anything to me. That was just kind of their way of kind of telling the world in a way that this is what they're going through without
That's
actually talking
crazy.
about it.
That's crazy. I mean, that
Yeah.
sock is about. I would say that sock has to be about 6 or 7 years old, and I still remember. I still have pictures of it, but I think one day I'm glad that we're having this conversation. One day on my social platforms, I'm going to post like a collage of my favorite socks from the past because I still have them. So I don't have the actual sock because I only started collecting my socks 2, 3 years ago. So I missed out on some really good ones because I thought, you know what, I just want to make it available for everyone else. And, I don't want to take away. My dad actually convinced me into like start collecting my own. Needless to say, I have a lot of my socks that I will never wear. I have them in a safe box. You know what I'm saying? So that's how
Mhm.
serious these are. The day that I depart from this earth, you guys who never invested in these stocks that are being created will be trying to find them. And I believe they will go on auction. Somebody's going to put them on auction and be like, yo, you want these? They're like 500,000.
Oh yeah, because you and I were talking before, and didn't you say you had like a Bob Marley sock
Yes,
and
a
stuff like that?
tribute.
So if you have stuff like in especially if something's in tribute to somebody, and if you have someone out there that's like a huge fan, my late husband and I used to be big collectors of a lot of things, Star Wars, different stuff. So I know there's all different kinds of collectors out there. So if you have someone that's a big Bob Marley fan, I would imagine if they didn't get one of those 12 pairs and they want one, they're gonna be
It's
hunting someone
so
down for
cool.
them.
Let me tell you, I'll give you a visual, right? Bob Marley is on the front. And I made sure I put a hidden heart. And on the back, I put one love. And it was like heaven, like clouds in heaven, and then a guitar, like the kind of guitar that he would play. And then one love. It was so dope. It was so dope. And that was the one where one person wanted to buy all 12. And I was like, no, I can't do that. I want to leave it. And then people were like, Joy, why wouldn't you just let him buy all 12? I'm like, no, because I want other people to enjoy them too. So he bought 6.
You put a limit on them.
I know. He's like, I'll buy all 12. I don't care. And he didn't want no discount. He would have bought them all, just straight up retail price.
I just think that's awesome because being the difference then is not only just spreading positive messages, it's paying tribute to people or to ones that you loved or admired, and it's probably giving people a voice.
Mhm. Ironically, speaking of the Bob Marley socks, he has a movie coming out. I was like, oh my goodness, I just made a pair of socks in memory of him and his legacy. And then boom, he has a movie. I was like, oh my goodness. Like, I don't watch TV. And that's why it's like so dumbfounding to me. I don't watch TV, but I happened to be on YouTube and saw the commercial. I said, yo, that's so dope. I just did a sock. So like the sock came before the movie.
Wow.
Mm.
Something's at work there. Something's definitely at work there. I would imagine do you do a lot for the like military people too?
Oh, I got this new pair of socks. Um, it's called, like, I started a little protect and serve line. One was paying tribute. I did one paying tribute to doctors, firefighters, police officers, teachers. The more recent ones that I have now are the nurses, because the nurses would be like, well, what about the nurses when they saw the doctor ones? I was like, well, sorry. So I made them for the nurses. And then the other one I have It's for the military. So basically, if you go on the website, guys, it's a limited supply. So there's a scene of a war, like it's a war scene on the front with a horizon, right? I wanted to put the sun in there because the silver lining that is always going to be beautiful. It's not going to be horrible forever. It's always going to be beautiful. Then on the back, there's a flag and it says to protect and serve. But I put the Tuskegee, one of the Tuskegee airmen on the back. So I think
Nice.
that is absolutely dope. And of course, the sunset is back there too. So if you guys love the military or, want to feel like we appreciate your service, go ahead and check that sock out.
Nice. So where do you, I know you said about collaborating, but where do you find your inspiration for all this? Do people kind of come to you, give you suggestions? Do they create their own, or it's just a bunch of different experiences, things you've come across, combination of all?
Everything is an experience to be had and to learn. I'm learning that daily, guys, if you just stop being distracted and stop for one moment, stop being so busy, stop feeling like you have to do something because if you don't do something, you're wasting time. Just stop and you'll see how beautiful the world is. And this is how I get the collections of things. And, when I have an experience that I don't necessarily, like you were just touching on, that I don't necessarily want to admit that I'm going through, maybe you might see a sock or a shirt. These books that I've written, especially this one right here. This one is so much so about like all the, at that time, right, of what I was going through. I published this book, I want to say 2022. I published this book in 2022, and this is the latest version. It's called Self-Reflections, Quotes That Make You Reflect. Can you see me now? This is the mirror. That's supposed to be the mirror and you. And then from at the bottom, it says from my heart to your hand. So basically, I have 5 books. One book is only available on socks. I thought those quotes weren't hitting hard, because after you come from your first book where everybody's like, oh, these are good. The second book, I was like, oh, these don't seem like they can compare to the first one. So I said, I'll just put them on socks. And then as I'm putting them on socks, I'm like, oh, this is a good one. But here's the caveat. Once all of those quotes from my second book are on socks, I'm discontinuing that book.
Not surprised. Not surprised.
But I'm mad at myself. I'm like, girl, there's some really good ones. Maybe you could just like slide them in somewhere else.
So you said 5 books though. So are all of your books all the different quotes and different stuff, or?
Oh yeah. And they're 100% original.
Nice.
I'm self-published. I copywrote, or I did the copyright myself. So yeah, it's all legit.
So where can they find your books at? Or do they contact you for?
You see down there
on the website? On your website?
QR code. You see that QR code in this little website right here. Y'all can go there and grab a copy of any of my books. If you see me at a pop-up, I always have them. If you see me in the street, I always have them. So if you look at any of the socials, you might see some past quotes that are on there. So the idea, I entitled majority of the books, Quotes That Make You Say, oh, from Instagram to your hand. It's not because they're a collection of quotes that I've seen on Instagram. It's just the collection of quotes that I used to post on Instagram every single day. This book, y'all see how many? This has had 256 pages or 60-something pages of quotes, all originals. I was posting quotes 3 times a day for a year. Okay, for an entire year. I was just thinking, because the reason why I did originals, because I was always afraid that if I posted someone else's quote, that somehow I would get sued, and I feel like my company was too much of a risk to like lose it all for someone else's stuff, even if I gave them the credit. Like, I'm not doing that. So I'm glad I challenged myself to like come up with originality on my own, because it ended up in it ended up in a book. And do you know, guys, when you copyright, it could take a year or two for the copyright to actually come back. Every single one of my books took like 6 months tops to get the copyright back.
Wow. That's
That's
not that,
original.
that is an awesome accomplishment. You also mentioned you do a podcast, so you have your own podcast as well?
Yes, if you go on YouTube, you can catch past episodes. So I thank, I honestly thank God and my ancestors. I just say my whole team, because I don't want to leave out anything or any spirit or good spirit that has been carrying me or pushing me along out of it. But the day that I actually turned off the distraction, i.e., the television, is the day that I started my journey. And that's how I ended up on YouTube. I honestly wanted to do a series called, I did a series. It was called Our Lives Seen Through My Eyes. I just wanted to document everyday people sharing what they wanted to talk about, what life experiences they were talking about. My very first interview was from a friend, Michelle, and she was talking about how her son, how he passed away from drug abuse. And it was sad because when I met Michelle, I think her son had passed away like not even 3 months. And I didn't realize it was so soon. But what was so amazing about that experience is that she said yes. Because there's not a lot of parents out there who I think will be bold enough to talk about, yes, my child was addicted. Yes, I tried everything. I tried to state, I tried everything to help my child. But they had, at the end of the day, they had their way of saying no. You can't force anybody. They're the ones that said no. And now I had to, she couldn't even bury her son because um, he kept on getting run over by cars,
Oh,
right? So there was nothing really to bury. And the cameras weren't recording. So like, envision her pain. And the
yeah.
fact that she said yes to be documented and to share with the world and other parents who are going through similar situations as her, I was like, that's gotta be healing for somebody, you know? So
Yeah.
unfortunately, Michelle passed away. She ended up having a brain tumor. Like, I feel like the little time that I knew her, when she told me that she loved me, I honestly felt it and I believed it. And we were just friends, you know what I mean? We met at church.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's crazy because she was going through her thing, you know, and I was going through my thing. And somehow God made our paths cross. And I didn't know she was gonna die. I was like, why are you always taking the good people away from me? You know, people that actually care about me. Why are you always taking them away? But her legacy is right there on my channel. So if you want to check her out, please do. Parents, if you're out there and you're suffering with the idea of your child going through it and you're scared to talk about how disappointed or how scared or how bad you feel, look at her story. So anyway, I got off the topic, but the
No,
name,
that's yeah, no, it's fine. That it's awesome that you're able to do that. And that is not something that's easy to do. I always tell people there's no right or wrong. There's no length of time. It took me a long time to deal and get over my husband's death and figure out who I was and what my path is. But working with people showed me that had I not lost him, I wouldn't be on this path. I'd still be working one of them jobs trying to make ends meet and just, being in the miserable paycheck is not a passion. So, and it wasn't. But now I get to do, be me, and I get to, meet wonderful, beautiful people that are helping others to make a change. and live healthier lives. And I think the more we can bring that out to people, the better off we are. I think we can do more together than we can by
Yeah,
ourselves.
absolutely. I agree.
So what is on the horizon for Be the Difference? Where are you going from here?
So from here, it's called catapult. Okay, we are going to catapult. Last night when I was on Hello World, I was talking about we need to step up. Okay, we need to step up. So this year there was a lot of changes that I just took a leap of faith with the company, and it's going to be the same thing next year. Because when I turn around next year and I look at this year, I'm like, that's all you did last year. And then when I turn around from next year to look at from next year to the next year, I'm like, that's all you did. It's always gonna. I'm always going to challenge myself to do more. And just so you know, the talk show Hello World, I challenged myself to do 1,000 episodes. And
Wow.
the thing is, I did that in 3 years because I went live 7 days a week. And we're not talking about like no little 20-minute, no 15-minute little thing. Sometimes those lives were like an hour long, 45 minutes the least. And there was no topic because every time I made a topic, whatever was speaking through me said, no, we're not talking about that today. So I always had to end up going back and editing the title. So from year one on in, I just kept on just doing the title after the live. But it was a live 7 days a week. And on March 25th, 2022 is when we hit 1,000 episodes. So you can, if you, and now we're at 1,050 because I don't go live every day. I've met my goal, but you got to keep on pushing. Use some of my life experiences as a great stepping stone to do better for yourself and your community, for your family. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just one of the steps that you can go, yeah. You know, and I'm happy. I'm happy to be able to help you decide to elevate. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
it only
absolutely.
takes one person to make a whole entire change in our world. One person. Are you that person?
So your Be the Difference clothing, you have hoodies, you have onesies, you've got little baby tees, we've got socks. Of course, you got Halloween coming up. Any plans to expand that, like into hats or blankets or anything else?
We have caps too. So we literally can inspire you from head to toe.
There you go. Well, then shoes should be next, right? You start printing on, you said head to toe. That would go shoes, boots, whatever, you can have a whole new fashion statement coming.
It's in the works. Definitely. So I'm already in the works of doing that. So I'm excited about that. Like, you're the first. Okay, you're the second to know. You are the second to know. Yes, that.
Well, there are going to be a lot of people knowing. It's going to be a lot of people knowing soon.
Yeah, but it's definitely in the works, and I'm excited because it's going to be a limited edition for these. Okay, it's going to be a pair of sneakers. Okay, so we're working on sneakers now.
That is beautiful. I love it, and I look forward to seeing them come out and where it goes. And I will definitely be going to that website and checking it out because I love having all the different clothes. And every now and then I get in a creative mode. I'll have to see what we can come up with.
Yeah, hit me up. And everybody who we end up collaborating with to like make a sock design, I do give a free pair, so you get a free pair of socks. Now, as far as if you have like a family reunion or like a personalized item that you want to print, I could do that too. Well, Be the Difference clothing can do it. So, we're capable of doing it all now. Yeah.
I think that is wonderful. We are out of time though. Joy, I want to thank you very much. I know we could go on, but I'm limited here. So I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming here and sharing this with everyone. And I really look forward to seeing how your business catapults here, because I can see you're heading for big places. And I
Thank you
really
for being a part of my
enjoyed you
journey.
and your heart. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. So thank you everyone for joining us, and we will see you next Monday. Remember to be there and be mindful.